My name is David and I am making content and videos that will help you to overcome your social anxiety. Someone to experience social anxiety himself, I wish that I had these videos so that I was able to overcome my social anxiety years ago. I basically give you the lessons and everything that you need in order for you to overcome your social anxiety. So if you have social anxiety and if you want to be free from social anxiety, this is the channel for you. And there's 4 things that scare the shit out of us and make us super anxious around people. So I started working in a restaurant and I remember that this time it was a super cute girl. She's white, she's super sweet, nice, she's a little chubby, the girl of my dreams. Literally, I really love that. Anyway, pretty that I really like, and she was basically working there. She had some menus and some glasses on her hand. She was setting the tables down. So I got closer to her and I was like, hey, how are you doing today? And she said, I'm good, how are you doing? And I was like, I'm doing great. How was your day? What did you do? And she said, well, I went to the mall because I had to get a shirt. I also visited one of my friends to the hospital because she's a little sick. And how was yours? And as soon as she said, how was your day? What did you do? I felt tense and I felt super triggered and super anxious. Something inside of me was puked and I was like, I did some cocos and I also went to the gym. And then she said, oh, it sounds like you had a productive day. Yes, it was. Stupid, why did you say it like that? She's probably thinking that you're a weird now. Cocos? Really? You're the most boring person that she's ever met. So I'm gonna say why this made me anxious. But first, let me explain something to you. When we talk about social anxiety, I used to tend to think that we have social anxiety, period. Yes, I get anxious around people. Yes, whenever I meet strangers, I get tense and my heart starts to race, period. But the reality is that there was 4 things that used to make me anxious, and there's 4 things that are making you anxious. And you gotta understand what is the thing that is making you feeling anxious. What is the belief that you have? And what is the belief that I had about myself that was making me feeling anxious around people? Because saying I have social anxiety, period, it's like saying my car is not working anymore. Well, we know that your car is not working. We know that it's not getting started. But why it's not getting started in the first place? There's so many problems. It's the tank that is not working. It's the engine that is not working, right? So the more that you are able to see and be more specific with that, the more you will be able to solve that problem, right? So the same thing happens with you. Instead of just saying I have social anxiety just like I used to, or I suck at talking to people, I had to know and understand why. And once I understood why, I was able to make a lot of progress and be able to be more confident and less anxious around people. That was literally the key. So anyway, the more that you know the problem, the more that you'll be able to solve the problem. Because the reason that we feel anxious around people is because we are scared of the revealed. We are scared of showing something to people. And we think that if they see this thing that we don't like about ourselves, they will reject us and they are not going to be our friends anymore. So something from us is not good enough and this thing will be revealed. And once people see this thing that is not good enough, people will reject us and they are not going to like us, right? So we try our best to hide these 4 things, and this is why we feel anxious around people. We tend to believe that people will not like us because of the things that we don't like about ourselves. And now I'm going to come back to my story. So anyway, there's 4 things, but one of them, the first one that I'm going to talk about right now is our character. The reason that I was anxious talking to her is because I was afraid of her to see and reveal my character. Meaning, I am not good enough and I am not really an interesting person. I am boring. I have nothing interesting to say. She's not gonna be interested when I talk about my stuff, when I talk about myself. So that's why I was super anxious as fuck, and that's why I was super nervous, because when she changed the focus on me, and especially on my character, on my personality, I was like, holy shit, I'm gonna be rejected. Because my personality is not really that good enough, right? So that's why I was super anxious. That's why I was super scared. So the first thing that we are afraid to reveal is our personality or character. Because what I used to think is, if I am myself around people and I share my thoughts, opinions, stories, interesting, I have nothing interesting to talk about. I am a boring person. right? And this belief used to come from the belief that my personality was not really appealing or attracting or interesting to people. It comes from the problem is myself and my persona and my personality. So that's why this is, for me, it was way easier for me to start a conversation, greet strangers, be like, yo, how you doing today? But when they would put the spot on me, I would freeze. I would get anxious, right? When I would be talking to people, oh, so what do you do today? Well, oh yeah, so tell me, what made you, oh, are you going to college? Yes, I'm going to college, this and that, and they give me like a whole speech of their life, and all of a sudden, 3 words, I don't know how many words is that, but a few words changed my state and the way that I was feeling. What about you? Holy shit! What about you? Yeah. So, right. So whenever they would say, "What about you?" I would feel super scared and I would feel super anxious. Oh yeah. So what about you? Yeah. I think that I used to do this too. And what about you? Yeah, man. So wait, you mentioned that you started going to college because when you were a kid, right? So it was all the time about you, right? Oh, I don't want to have the quote unquote pressure. Oh shit, I don't want to have the attention. I don't want to be on the spotlight. I don't want to be on the spot, right? Because if I start to talk about my beliefs, my stories, what I do on a daily basis, this is not interesting compared to what you have to say. And therefore, I'm not going to talk about myself. I'm just going to let you talk about yourself. I'm just going to listen to you. I'm just going to hear what you say. Because the moment that I talk about myself, you will not like me. You're not going to hang out with me anymore. Because I am a boring person. Because I'm not really interesting. Right? That's what used to go. That is something that used to happen to me when I would be interacting with other people. Right? It's always about, what about you? What? Right? It's like, let's talk about you, but let's never put the focus on me. Because if you put the focus on me, then you will be able to see that I'm a boring person. Right? Once again, like I said, social anxiety comes from revealing something, from the fear of revealing something that is not good enough. In this case, it was my personality. Because I was afraid to reveal myself because I'm not really that interesting. If I'm not that interesting, people will not want to hang out with me, right? So, character / personality, and the way that I address this is by simply understanding these 3 things. This is how I was able to make more friends, and this is how I was able to feel better on my own skin, right? It's accepting the fact that I will be boring to some people, and that's okay. Right? First thing first is just accept it. Yes. I will be boring as fuck to other people, and that is okay. Because I started to understand that sometimes we hang out with the wrong crowd, with the wrong people, and some stuff will not be interesting to them. Not because of us, not because the problem is us, not because the problem is, oh yes, I'm fucking boring person, right? It has nothing to do with that. It has more to do with our passions, with our beliefs, with our desires. So if other people don't have the same values, desires, the things that we admire, the things that we love, then other people will not like us, right? That's something that I started to believe is, and the way that I started to change this, right, is to basically start to see what the problem is, isolate the problem. And I was like, okay, one of the reasons that I feel anxiety around people, it is because of my personality, because I believe that I'm not really that interesting as a person, and that's why whenever people put the spot and the focus on me, I don't want to talk about myself because I'm a boring person, because people are gonna be like, really? I took the time out to be with this guy, and this is all I got. Oh, this is all I'm getting. A fucking boring piece of shit. Really, I would think like that. But anyway, So the way that I address this is by simply understanding these three things, right? First thing first is accepting that I will be the most boring as fuck to some people. Acceptance. And that's it. That's totally okay. Because I started to understand that sometimes we hang out with the wrong crowd, and some stuff would not be interesting to them. Not because of us, not because we are boring, not because we don't have anything interesting to say, but it's because we have different passions, values, beliefs, and this is what forms our desires and our identity, right? That's one of the things that I started to think, like, oh shit, maybe the problem is not me. Maybe the problem is not people, but the places where I'm putting myself in, right? Because think about this: if I hang out with people that don't smoke weed, I'm gonna feel a little like, oh shit, I don't really belong here, right? And therefore they're gonna be talking about, yeah, bro, this time I got really stoned, well, not stoned, I don't know. Well, you see, I don't know anything. Really baked, really high, bro. And then my mama was calling me, dude. The other day, my dad was like, bro, why the fuck your eyes are red, right? It's like, and I'm just there like, okay, this is fun. This is like, their stories are funny, but I don't feel understood here. Like when I talk about, oh yeah, I woke up early because I was reading a book. They're gonna look at me weird. It's like, dude, what the fuck is this guy talking about books? We wanna fucking smoke weed, right? So that's the thing. It's like I started to be like, oh shit. Well, fair enough. Some people have completely different values than I have, completely different desires, beliefs that I have, and that's totally fine. Because maybe the stories that I have collected in my life and the memories and experiences that I have collected are something that people would not like to hear. Just like the example of people that smoke weed. Or let's say if I smoke weed and then all of a sudden I'm hanging out with people that are religious, Christian, they don't give a fuck about weed or drugs, right? They don't want to hear about that. They are actually against it. So I will have a list of experiences, stories, and things that I did, but I cannot get to tell them that because they have different values, they have different desires, they have different opinions. So that's when I started to be like, maybe the problem is not me. Maybe the problem is the people that I hang out with, which is the problem is not them, but the way I am in a wrong spot, basically, right? Because I started to understand this when I have a friend of mine in Florida, and we basically every time that we go there, like we met online, right, through a fucking community, like an online community, and we basically started talking, and we basically started like doing FaceTime, texting each other every single day until we finally met each other, right? I know this guy for like a year, and I have seen him for like two times, right? But every time, no kidding, we will go from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. just talking. Just literally talking. No like drinking or playing. Literally just talking. Why? Because we have the same values. We have the same beliefs. We have the same desires, right? If I talk about this thing that I want to do in my life, it's like, oh shit, I'm thinking about the same thing, right? So it's basically that's how it works. It's like I started to understand this when I started to be like, oh shit, I have this guy that I'm able to like be super interesting. He's like, dude, you are like a G, right? Because we have the same values, we have the same beliefs, we have the same desires, right? So sometimes it's not the people that we talk to. Sometimes it's we put ourselves in the wrong spot. But I also know that for some guys, I will not be that interesting, right? And that is okay. So if I go to the bar, you know, just like the example that I gave you, the same thing is gonna happen. With some guy, I will be boring as fuck, and that's okay, because I don't drink, I don't do drugs, because those are not my values. So instead of beating myself up for not being interesting to people and to everyone, which is okay, I have to look for people that have the same values, the same beliefs, the same interests, so that I can have something to talk about, right? So I'm not gonna beat myself up. I'm gonna basically try to align myself with people that have the same values, desires, opinions, and this will help me to be more myself around people and be able to be interesting to others, right? But I don't wanna be like super like attached to like, oh, you think about this? Oh no, I don't wanna hang out with you, because I used to have this belief as well. I think that you gotta understand that sometimes you will be boring as hell, and that's okay. But I don't want to be making the huge mistake that I used to make, which is judging people. Oh, they are not really disciplined. Oh, they are not going to the gym. Oh my God, they don't read books. They are lazy. I don't want to hang out with them. Fucking losers, right? It's like, that's the belief that I used to have. I don't want to be judging people. I just want to understand that for some people I will not be that interesting, and that's okay. But I'm not gonna judge people like I used to. I'm not gonna reject anyone. I'm gonna approach them and get to a deep conversation to see, okay, do I have anything in common with this person? Is there any values aligned? Is there any belief that we have aligned? Or can I just have a good time with this person? If the answer is yes, I'm gonna totally hang out with this person. But this is the mistake that I have to make. It's like, okay, if you don't have the same values, I'm gonna cut you off, right? It's like, okay, fair enough. They don't have the same values. Of course, if they're fucking doing drugs and heroin, I'm not gonna hang out with them. But it's just like understanding that just get to know them first. Don't judge them. Don't reject them right off the bat. Because when you do that, it's just, I remember that I used to do that. It's like, oh, I don't want to hang out with you because you don't have the same thing. It's like, and I would be like, oh, fucking loser. But it would just be an excuse. I wouldn't like to hang out with them or go to the bars or go and drink with them, because I was fucking afraid and scared to talk to people, anxious. That's why. So I was just coping, and this is something that you shouldn't do. So fair enough. Try to find the people that you have the same values and desires and opinions. You will be more interesting, but understanding that sometimes you might not have the same things in common, and that's totally okay too. That's the mistake that I used to make before. So that's why I'm telling you this. So the second thing that has helped me was to stop believing these lies. I am boring. I'm not interesting to anyone. I have nothing interesting to say. What I understood, and it was like, it blew my mind, is that there's a devil's voice. As someone that experienced social anxiety, and I seen that all the guys have the same fucking thing. You probably have had these things before, right? Because this is super common. And what I'm going to talk about is super common as well. These lies come from something called the inner critic. And this is the voice that every guy with social anxiety has. So this voice is super negative, and it would always be judging everything that I would say or everything that I would do. You probably have heard this voice. And throughout all of my years, I've been able to capture the most common patterns that I had. Oh my god, that was so awkward. That was not good enough at all. She's thinking that I'm weird. Why was I talking about that? She's thinking that you're ugly. She said that because you're a loser. She can tell that you have no friends, right? So this is called the inner critic, and this is why I was lied. I was scammed for so fucking years. And this is why I would believe that I'm not really interesting to anyone, that don't have anything interesting to say. This is the devil's voice, and you probably have heard this voice too, right? When you're talking to people, it shows up. He's thinking that you're weird. He's thinking that I'm a weirdo. Oh my god, that was so awkward. He's probably thinking that you're an awkward dude and you're a loser, right? It's the inner critic talking to you, right? This helped me to set myself free from social anxiety, because this voice would make me believe this statement not true. And the reality was that I was way, way, way more interesting to people than what I used to believe. The reality was that I was way, way, way better at talking to people than what I used to believe. It wasn't until I was able to let go of these lenses and be like, what the fuck? This is fucking false. These are lies that I'm believing. I'm not actually this type of guy that I see myself. People were not thinking that I'm weird. Everything was false. That girl over there is not thinking that I'm a fucking loser. She hasn't even looked at me. Or if she has, maybe, just maybe she's thinking that I am attractive. That guy over there is not thinking that I'm a fucking piece of shit loser, like I used to believe. Maybe he's thinking, oh, this is a cool guy. I would like to hang out with this dude. You never know. Because it was my mind lying to me. Right? So, questioning these statements were really powerful for me because it helped me to see the truth. And that's what we want to see. The truth about yourself. The truth about myself. Not who I think I am. And especially not who this voice thinks that I am. Because this voice is super negative. And it helps me to change the way that I see myself. When I questioned and I confronted the voice, I found truth. And these are the first thing that I did is the awareness log, right? This is one of the things that one of my therapists recommended me. And when I started doing this, holy shit, what a powerful, amazing, I started to see the difference. So you gotta write down the situation, right? Maybe you're at the grocery store, you were talking to this cute girl, she was the cashier, and you felt nervous, right? You gotta write that down, the situation, the body sensations, right? For example, I felt tense, my heart was racing, and then the emotions, anxious, worried, nervous, guilty, inadequate, inferior, worthless, you name it. The automatic thoughts that I had and the truth. I'm gonna talk about that. I almost got excited, but I'm gonna break this down. So I remember that I was when I first started doing this, I was at the wedding, and some people that knew that were there, they were there from basically church. So I used to go to this church, and some of them know me. I was at the wedding, and everyone was looking at me, quote unquote, looking at me, and thinking that I'm weird. So I felt tense walking around people, and I felt my chest was racing. The emotions that I felt were anxious, worried, nervous. The automatic thoughts that I had is that everyone is thinking that I look stupid, dumb, ridiculous. Right? And this is the important key that I want you to listen. I was able to capture all of these thoughts, the automatic thoughts that I had about myself, that this inner critic was telling about myself. But then I had to put it on a perspective and give it a different perspective and see it for how they are, to find truth. Not fucking affirmations, not fucking being positive, just, is this actually true? Probably it is not. So this helped me to basically set myself free. Everyone is thinking that I look stupid, dumb, ridiculous. The fucking reality was no one was thinking that about me. In fact, I was looking fresh. So that means that everyone, oh shit. That means that everyone was thinking that about me, right? That means that the person that is getting married is not important as I am because everyone is paying attention to me. That is fucking false, and that is super stupid. That is false. That is fake. That is a lie. No one is thinking that about me. In fact, I felt and I was looking fresh. People that know you are thinking that you're a failure. Everyone is ahead of you. You know, the guys that were the same age as I am. And they went to college, they graduated, you name it. No one was thinking that about me. They did not even approach me and talk to me in the first place. How the fuck are they coming up with that conclusion? Some of the guys in there, my age, are trying to figure things out too. That means that I'm not a failure. The guys over there are cooler than you are. You're a loser. I said what's up with them. And he might be thinking, oh shit, what a cool guy. He came and approached me. What a cool guy. Right? So this is how I was able to, the more that I was able to do this, I would do this almost every day. It's recommended to do this every day. But the more that I was able to do this, I was able to make this voice less powerful. And therefore I was less anxious, more confident to people. And I wouldn't see myself as someone boring or as someone that sucks at talking to people, because guess what? I was not believing these lies anymore. When I went back to work after a few days of doing this, when I would go to the gym, when I would go to the grocery store, I was able to talk to people with confidence because I was believing these lies less. Because it was no longer people were against me. Now it was me with people on the same side. And that's how I was able to talk to people, make jokes, be able to just talk to people just like a fucking human being. Because I was not believing these lies anymore. And this is super powerful. And another thing is often the extremes, right? So you are always boring. You have nothing to offer to anyone. No one likes you. Everyone thinks you're a loser. You'll always run out of things to say. Really? Always. Notice how it's always nothing, no one, everyone. Right? Always boring. Oh, really? That's not actually true. Not all the times. I made some people laugh. You have nothing to offer to anyone. Not to everyone, of course. I have my own values. I have different values, passions, hobbies, and that's totally fine. No one likes you. Some people do. Some people think that I'm actually smart. Some people have said, "Oh, I want to hang out with David." Everyone thinks you're a loser. Everyone. They don't even know me. How the fuck are they coming out with that conclusion? You always run out of things to say. Not all the times. I got stuff to talk about depending on the person. And that's how I was able to basically win this battle. This is how you win this battle. Just separate yourself. Know that this is not your mind. This is not you. It's your, it's called inner critic. And this is the battle that you have. So the more that I was able to solve and question these statements, face the inner critic, the devil's voice, I was able to be more powerful. So the question is, who's gonna win here? Because if the devil's voice wins, you will be unhappy. But if you win, you will be able to make more progress, right? And another thing that I want to say is that, putting that aside, I had a call with a mentor, right? He basically is showing us how to and teach us how to grow a YouTube channel. And he says that one of the best things that you can do is just to basically tell stories and become super good at telling your story. And I remember that on this call, he was helping one of the students inside. And the coach said something that was super interesting. Most of the times, we have more stories to tell. The truth is that our stories get lost in our memory. But if we really sit down and bring them back, you'll be surprised of how many interesting stories you have to tell. I heard about this and I was like, holy shit. I was like, wow, this is true. Not only this is good advice for YouTube, but it is a good advice for real life too. You see, for my entire life, I will always run out of things to say. Or I will always make the other person talk about themselves because I didn't want to talk about myself because I didn't have any story to talk about. But the reality is that I didn't have anything to say because, quote unquote, I don't have any story. And this is a lie. Because you'll be surprised, and I will be surprised of how many stories I got to tell. I got a lot of stories to tell. Stories that can make someone laugh. The stories that can make someone pay attention. Stories that can make someone cry. And this just happened to me. And this just happened to me, right? As you can see, I have this thing right here, right? I got like, kind of like a scar. I don't know if you're able to see it, right? But this is something that just happened. I was smoking a cigar, and I was on the car with a friend of mine. And when I was trying to put the belt on, I put the cigar on my arm. So I told this story, simple, stupid story to this girl. And then she was laughing hard, right? She was laughing super hard. And then she showed me a scar that she had. So one stupid, short, simple story created a connection, right? She showed me her scar. She had a good time, and she laughed, right? So, but in my mind, I was like, don't say that because she's gonna think that you're weird. Oh my God, you're humiliating yourself. don't say cigar, because she's gonna think that she's not gonna like you because it's a cigar. So it's always like we I would always be filtering things out. The best thing that I've been doing is just talk about the things that happened to me, right? Whenever this like time. Of course I'm not gonna say, oh yeah, I jerk off when I was like 14. It's like I'm not gonna talk about that, of course, but like certain things, like stupid things, like even my mom was, oh, don't say that. That was a stupid. Really, I fucking got born. That's funny. Period. Right? I got so many stories to tell, and the reason that I wouldn't tell them is because I would try to filter things out. Oh, I'm not gonna say that because that's inappropriate. Oh, that's not good enough. Oh, why is she gonna? Oh, why is she gonna think about me if I say this? Right? So don't filter things out is one of the things that has helped me a lot. And just try to bring my memories. Try to bring my memories in the sense of like how many stories I got to tell to people, because in fact I got like a lot. So what I was able to do is I was like started to see myself and see my personality as someone who, okay, I'm not that boring, because that is a lie that I'm telling myself, and I also have things to talk about, right? So the more that you are able to see yourself different, and the more that you are able to have evidence that it's like, okay, I have stories, and even if you don't have, and that's one of the things that I've been doing lately, is like just go for adventures, just go to like crazy shit. Yeah, I don't like to go to the city, but I went to the city 3 weeks ago, because if I go to the city, I have something to talk about. I'm gonna go to an abandoned hospital on Monday with someone that got a Glock, right? Someone that got a Glock, and that shit is interesting. And before I would be like, oh no, I have things to do in the morning and this and that. But I'm gonna go. Fuck it, I'm gonna go because I'm gonna have something to talk about. So you have things. I have things to talk about from the past, and I'm creating new stories every single week in order for me to be able to talk about certain things when I sit down with a girl, with people, right? So that's the same thing that you could do. Is like we judge our personalities. I don't have anything to say, but you have a lot of things to say, because first you're lying to yourself. Second, you have a lot of things, but you're not really to say them because you are filtering yourself out, and you'd be surprised of how people see you. Not how you think people see you, but how people actually see you. You'd be completely surprised, because I was surprised when I started doing all of this. But when you are, if you do this, just like this personally helped me, you'll be surprised of the changes and in the way that you'll be able to change.